What's up, guys? What's up? So, while I was on the last live stream, I just saw some breaking news came out with Saule Omarova. If you don't know who she is, she's Biden's pick for the office of controller to essentially end, not essentially, it is exactly to end banking. All bank accounts will essentially go directly with the Federal Reserve. This is a very, very big deal. Because if you no longer have a Chase Bank account or a Bank of America account or Wells Fargo, and you have to go to the Federal Reserve to obtain financing for, let's say, to refinance your property, to to qualify to purchase a property, to get a business loan, to get an auto loan, you have to essentially ask the one person that will be able to say yes or no to any of your requests. Now, it sounds almost like a theory. It sounds like some tinfoil hat, like no way this is happening. But here's this article. It literally just came out 30 minutes ago. CNBC, 29 minutes ago. And how this is playing out is it's unbelievable. I honestly think that she's going to get rolled in. They're going to probably do a bunch of back and forth, but I think that ultimately this is the person that will likely the fate. So have the fate of America. A nomination hearing for President Biden's pick to be comptroller of the currency, Saule Omarova, turned fiery on Thursday. Right? This is the lady here. She's from Kazakhstan. Washington, a nomination hearing for President Joe Biden's pick to be comptroller of the currency, Saule Omarova, turned fiery on Thursday as Democrats and Republicans took jabs at each other over the candidate's unconventional academic works and her upbringing in the Soviet Union. She is way past left. She is full-blown. There's a lot of controversy around her beliefs in Karl Marx and communism. Omarova's nomination to be one of the country's top bank regulators is uncertain, giving fierce opposition from the GOP and skepticism from moderate Democrats, including Senator Jon Tester of Montana. The main concern among Republicans and a handful of Democrats is Omarova's writing as a legal scholar, which considering sweeping changes to the U.S. banking system. Republicans in the Senate Banking Committee kicked off the hearing with a review of Cornell University's law professor's legal studies, a challenge that she's explored to augment the power of the Federal Reserve and to effectively franchise community banks as a threat to the future of the U.S. financial system. The ranking GOP members, right, listen to this, taking in their totalitarian, her ideas amount to Socialist Manifesto, right? But in one recent article, the Cornell law professor explores the idea of taking consumer deposits away from community banks and parking them at the Federal Reserve. Like this is unbelievable. If this wasn't on like a CNBC or one of these major outlets, nobody would believe that this is, really a potential, a real possibility. I think that give it a couple, maybe a year, you're going to start to see situations where banks are closing down all over the country. And this does happen. They're going to have a song and a dance as to why it's a good thing. But trust me, it's going to take away a lot of competition, and it's going to allow them to essentially have a monopoly over all banking. Community banks would then be paid by the U.S. government to operate ATMs and otherwise act as a local liaison on behalf of the Fed. Senator Richard Shelby said he agreed with Toomey and added that he is troubled by her nomination and what he views her ideas hostile to community banks. The comptroller regulates about 1,200 banks with total assets around $14 trillion, or 2/3 of the entire U.S. banking system. Its representatives work with big banks to ensure lenders are abiding by federal law and providing fair access to financial services and otherwise examining bank management. If confirmed to lead the Office of Controller of the Currency, an independent bureau of the Treasury Department, Omarova would be the first woman, immigrant, and person of color. This drives me crazy when they put this in there. I don't think anyone really cares. They want to be able to. This isn't like, oh, okay, well, because that's there, then I'm okay with losing my bank account. Yeah, I mean, But they really want to highlight this. Omarova countered Shelby by noting the important role local banks play in vitalizing small business and how she felt when she opened her first U.S. checking account in 1991. Holding a checkbook in my hand was a symbol of economic freedom and autonomy, she said, a comparison to her childhood growing up in Kazakhstan when it was all part of the Soviet Union. Despite the GOP's focus on her academic works, Omarova insisted that those writings are purely theatrical. This is unbelievable. She's not going to take accountability to anything that she's done. She's going to basically call it all theoretical and should be viewed in the context of an ongoing debate among scholars. She also protested Republican efforts to paint her as anti-bank. If I am confirmed to lead the Office of Controller of the Currency, my top priority will be to guarantee fair and competitive market where small and mid-sized banks that invest in their neighborhoods, homes, and small businesses can thrive, she said in opening remarks. If confirmed, she later said community banks would no better ally than that would be fine by me. Know the difference between the job of an academic and the freedom of academics in terms of exploring ideas. Let me see here, because it'll probably be a statement later. I sent something to my friend about this yesterday, because what happened in her former article, she said, for someone who's lost family members in the time she was young, this is the same lady. I'm gonna pull up this text and show you this article. Hold on 1 second here. There we go. All right. So this is. Oh no! Hold on 1 second. I'll just pull it up here. Right here. So this Politico article, Biden to tap, right, her as the top bank cop, right? But what she says here in this article, what we should really be thinking about is what we should do to shift that balance and have the Fed and the Treasury and maybe other public institutions maybe take a greater part in the infrastructure itself in the provisions of financial services. She then goes on to say that they will end banking. See here. Biden's initial leading candidate, nominated, considered progressive. Let's see here. Omarova has written in favor of restructuring the Federal Reserve and recommended that providing bank accounts for consumers, which she has argued would make the financial system less competitive, less complex, more stable, and more efficient in serving long-term needs for the American people. That view is likely to make her nomination controversial. That's wild to me. It's absolutely wild to me. At the same point, we look at what's happening now in Ithaca, New York, where people they have to upgrade their properties, for the environment. So these expenses are roughly $50,000 per single family home is the median price in Ithaca. I did a video on this talking about this. So imagine that if banks did, this is just, I'm just thinking about this. If this does happen, what Saule Omarova and Biden suggest, which is to end banking as we know it, and those loans are then transferred to the Fed, could the Fed say, no, I'm not going to give you an additional loan. I'm not going to allow you to refinance your property. I'm going to do this or do that. I guess that will be to be determined. We're going to see how that sits. But President Biden, so as control of the currency, should be responsible for policing the largest banks as the head of the financial regulator. I'm going to show you this other article here. I think this might have been the one. Yeah, end banking as we know it. I was looking for that line. So Omarova has forgotten fierce pushback from Republicans. I don't think it's just Republicans. I think it's probably everybody. I don't think anyone really wants to lose their freedom of choice for banking, but I could be wrong. Republicans wanted to allow the Federal Reserve to provide bank accounts for Americans rather than private institutions, and move that she said will end banking as we know it. Tester Moderate, who has often gone to bat for community banks, didn't suggest outright positions at this point. I want to give her a fair shake, but I do have concerns. He declined to be more specific. I will hold off until after I meet her. Omarova, a professor at Cornell Law School, is one of a number of progressive-backed nominees from Biden has tapped to become regulators, including the heads of the SEC, FTC, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. But her nomination has been the target of especially scathing attacks over her views for the government should play a greater role in the financial system, including rare opposition from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which generally stays out of confirmation battles. Dr. Omarova would regulate community banks to pass through entities. You think about this. Biden's pick would regulate community banks, pass through entities that hold their deposits on behalf of the Federal Reserve, effectively eliminating community banks model that is not only provides the U.S. the most diverse and competitive banking system in the world, but also meets the unique and evolving needs of small businesses and consumers in communities across the country. Think about how impactful that is. This could be a situation where you could have people that are so well off right now. I mean, they're doing very, very well. And then you got people in the middle and then people at the bottom, of the economic ladder. This would essentially put all of those people at risk of all just being on the bottom. Because if you take someone's ability to get bank financing and you take away competition in a free market, what happens? You have no alternative. We could end up going back into like a barter system, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, hey, I don't want to have a situation where, I maybe don't have access to capital. You might see people, if this does happen, I'm telling you, you guys might see a huge gold rush into crypto, to precious metals, to collectible cars, to artwork, to jewelry, to everything, because people aren't going to want to have all their money inside of that. You might just see a big, big spending spree if this happens, because I'm telling you guys, I don't see, if I told this to any relative that was 60 or 70 years old that knew nothing about crypto, they would probably rather have their money in that coin that they know nothing about than have it in this new bank. So imagine people that actually study it, they learn about it, but then you're going to have a lot of old money too that are going to say, hey, I'm going to go back to gold. It was used since 500 BC. They call it God's money. I'm going to go use that. And people are going to say, you know what, stockpile, silver, gold, crypto. They're going to buy everything because it only makes sense. It could be like a barter economy. It could be. This is what they're saying. You have to really, I don't want to scare anybody, but this is Politico. This other article today came out 29 minutes ago. So this stuff is happening. This isn't like this was, last week, right? So they're moving pretty aggressively each week, but this is this was, about a month ago, right? But Dr. Omarova would regulate community banks to pass through entities that hold their deposits on behalf of the Federal Reserve, effectively eliminating community banking model that not only provides the U.S. the most diverse and competitive banking system in the world, but also meets the unique and evolving needs for small businesses and consumers in communities across the country. That's just so unbelievable to me. Omarova would not have the ability, legally or practically, to implement customer accounts at the central bank, which is entirely separate agency from the Office of Controller of the Currency, but she would bring to the job a deep skepticism about the country's mega banks and their role as dominant players in the financial markets. She has suggested that the current regulatory framework is too slow moving to properly oversee those firms. She has also suggested, also subscribe here, hit the bell. When you hit the bell, you're going to get notified of my next lives. And I only do live streams to talk about important things, so you only get notified on things that will impact you. She has also suggested that advocates of financial technology and cryptocurrency, often touted as the wave of the future of finance, have overstated the benefits of developments. But what's very fascinating too is that she does not like cryptocurrency at all. So what she made a big statement about crypto, and it'll be interesting to, I'm going to see if I can find this. It'll be interesting to see what, let's see here. So this was October. This is CoinDesk.com. There are many types of financial innovation. Some ATM withdrawals most trustworthy, subprime mortgage back, right? Let's see if we can find her statement here. Biden's pick to head the Office of Controller of the Currency, whether it's a libertarian magazines jumping to conclusions about single phase in a single paper on an issue outside the OCC's ambit, or longtime crypto advocates, many, let's see here. Now Omarova has recognized the power of financial innovation to improve the power of our lives. She acknowledges the U.S. lacks a unified strategy for fintech regulation, does not profess to have all the answers. She argues our payments and banking systems need to be more inclusive. This is unbelievable. It needs to be more inclusive of low income. So basically, if you don't want this, then that means that you don't care about other people. It means that, you are selfish and you're a bad person. And it's all about, more people need to be included. And that's why the banking system needs to change. Maybe she's right. I don't know. Marginalized communities, goals, the new industries, say and respect. She has even emphasized the importance of data security and privacy, right? Omarova takes serious long-term picture. This seems like a paid piece. Hold on one second. Crypto's road gets harder with Biden's pick. So I'm not going to sign up for that. Entrepreneur.com. Biden's nominee, crypto skeptic, right? Omarova is a Cornell law. Let's see here. Precisely, the OCC has granted limited bank charters to the cryptocurrency firms, which sparked unwanted competition from Wall Street players. The OCC was then led. Let's see here. However, she's expected to taste. Let's see. Biden. There we go. Fortune. Biden's plan to nominate a major critic of cryptocurrencies as a Wall Street regulator. So this is what she will do. She's not going to want to try to compete with Bitcoin or Ether or any of these other coins. They're going to want one major player, I would imagine. If they don't want to compete with small banks, why would they want to compete with crypto? I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm not saying they're going to wipe it out. I do think that initially a lot of capital will flow to it because people are going to want that. They're going to want to basically have full control of their money. And I think that's going to bring a lot of attention. But I think also they're going to make a very big play. They're going to do something to, and this isn't like, would just make sense. If they don't want to compete with banks, they probably don't want to compete with Bitcoin. But I don't know what they would do. That's the thing. Like I'm not sure. Maybe it'll be through the exchanges. Maybe it's going to be through the actual banks before they do something. I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe it's if money was sent to this exchange or sent here, then the account gets audited. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what they could possibly do. President Joe Biden plans to nominate a law professor, right? She wants to end banking as we know it, will be tapped to run the Office of Controller of the Currency as soon as this week. According to 3 people familiar with the nomination, the OCC picking on Omarova, who teaches at Cornell Law School, is a shot across a bow for Wall Street as she's expected to pursue tougher oversight and stricter rules. The pick also raises questions about whether the Biden admin would support Omarova's agenda if she pursues some of her most radical positions, such as moving consumer banking to the Federal Reserve from private institutions. I just can't get over that. There's no way I'm doing like I'm not gonna depend on that account. Put it that way. She has also cited a rapid rise in crypto as benefiting mainly the dysfunctional financial systems we already have. Omarova contends that digital tokens threaten to destabilize the economy and are vulnerable to abuse by private firms at the expense of public safeguards. Omarova may face a tough confirmation fight as Democrats have razor thin margin majority in the Senate. Banks, which also are big donors to both political parties, will likely lobby aggressively against her candidacy. The Biden admin has so far struggled to fill the OCC jobs. Earlier this year, the White House was forced to drop previous candidates, including, right, if approved, will be the first woman. They love to add this in there. She previously worked as a banking lawyer. Let's see. Here we go. In academic papers, Omarova has supported shifting consumer deposits to the digital dollar accounts at the Fed. So that is what the world would look like. Could you imagine? What do you guys think? Drop this in the comment section. Drop this in the comment section. They want to end banking as we know it, right? End banking as we know it right here. And right here. End banking as we know it. And this was dropped on us 29 minutes ago. So 29 minutes ago, they're putting on this, dog and pony show, putting on a big show that there's a heated debate and this and that. But this is Biden's pick. I hate to say this, but I personally think that Biden's going to get what he wants. I think he's probably going to get what he wants. And if he does, then what would this look like? Think about this. What would this look like for everybody if he does get this? So no bank accounts. It's just all one Fed coin, one digital dollar account at the Fed. And these are all articles. Like this is CNBC. This is Politico. This is Fortune.com. I'm literally reading just what they have said themselves. Something that she describes as part of a blueprint for radically reshaping the basic architecture and dynamics of modern finance. On Twitter, she has posted comments about her distrust of mega banks. But at least with a mega bank, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, you can always switch. You could always go to a credit union. You can always have money in multiple different banks. You can always have, you have options. When you remove options, then you are basically in a position to have no real opportunity, because most banks that are competing against one another are doing so through the value that they provide to a customer. So what value would they be forced to provide if there's no competition? Does the world need JP Morgan to grow bigger and more powerful? I mean, I guess we could argue the same thing the other way around. After big banks announced increase in dividends and stock buybacks, she remarked, "Oh, great, that's what the country needs more of." Liberal groups will likely be pleased by her nomination. The Action Center on Race and the Economy praised her as a potential candidate earlier this year, saying in a statement that she puts us on the path to correct the wrongdoings of past administrations who have been too cozy with Wall Street executives while ignoring the widening racial and economic disparities. I just don't, maybe I just don't get it. But how is this tied to this ending banking? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. It's interesting though. It's very interesting. What do you guys think? Drop it down below. Do you guys think that this will actually happen? Like, and if it did happen, do you think that we could see a situation where people are no longer able to maybe purchase properties because they can't get loans? Or do you think that maybe loans will only be given to certain people? Or do you think that maybe small businesses could be impacted? Or maybe, I don't know. Again, like, this is from CNBC, this is from Politico, this is from Fortune.com. This is what they're saying. I'm simply reading it to you and opening a dialogue about it. Do you think that this is going to happen? And if it does happen, what will the economy look like? What will our everyday lives look like under this action? Most people can't comprehend what this would look like. Imagine that. Imagine there would be no more paper dollar. There'd be no more, hey, I'm going to go over to the bank and grab $50, or I'm going to deposit some cash. None of that. It would just be one account under that, and there would be one controller of that account. Crazy. It almost seems like some tinfoil hat movie. Like, you just wouldn't believe it. But when you see it, and they're literally putting it in your face today, you got to ask yourself, 29 minutes ago, here's that pretty lady right here. You got to ask yourself, this is going to happen. I think it's very likely. And and the only reason I think it's likely is because it's what Biden wants. It's what he wants. And it's right in front of our faces. They've been talking about this for a little while now. And they think that ending banking is going to it's going to save, how do they say it? It's going to that the current system is supporting this. And so they need to get rid of that system so that then no longer will they have this. Nuts, crazy stuff, guys. All right, smash that like button, hit the notification bell if you want to be updated on my next live, and subscribe here. I'll catch you guys later. And drop your comments in the comment section of the video. Let's get a conversation going about this.